Madam President, we are good to go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Donna Raphael, and I am the chapter president of the NAACP Freeport Roosevelt branch. On behalf of our branch, I welcome you to this important forum for the Roosevelt Board of Education election. The NAACP is a nonpartisan organization, and while it advocates for social justice and Black communities, it does not endorse political candidates or take partisan positions. This means that while individuals affiliated with the NAACP may have their own political views, the organization itself maintains a nonpartisan stance. Tonight is about civic engagement and informing our community. It's a chance to hear directly from the individuals who seek to serve our students, families, and schools. Thank you to the candidates, the NAACP Education Committee, and all who made this evening possible. We appreciate your participation and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam President, and good evening, everyone, especially Roosevelt, and welcome to the Roosevelt Union Free School District Board of Election Trustees Candidate Forum. That is a mouthful, but it's exciting to be able to have you all here as part of it. I am Jacob Dixon. I serve as the Education Chair for the Freeport Roosevelt NAACP chapter, and on behalf of the entire chapter and following the lead of our Madam President, thank you so much for being here. We also want to thank our candidates for taking the time out of their busy schedule and the day before elections to still make sure that their voices are being heard for the community, with the community, and by the community. So thank you both. We are also joined here today by Christine Waters, who is our NAACP New York State Education Chair. So thank you so much for participating in this as well. As our Madam President has shared before, our forum today is not a debate. It's really a conversation. It's enabled the candidates to be able to speak their voices and opinions on issues related to children and families, particularly in the Roosevelt community. And it's really for them to be able to introduce themselves to audience people who may know, but just want to reaffirm their thoughts about them before going into votes, or just to hear more information about it. And so each candidate will get some time to be able to speak their thoughts and opinions. The way how the night is going to go is that first, each of the candidates will be able to have a 5-minute opening to be able to share their thoughts, their vision as to why they are running for this position. And then after that, we do have some questions that were sent in by the community that we will be able to address. We'll start in alphabetical order. So our brother Kenneth will start off with that. And then after a while, we'll pass over to the pastor and be able to go back and forth until we have that done. Subsequently, after that, we will then have the community on the bottom of whether you're on your phone or whether you're on a computer, there's a Q&A icon. If you click on that, you'll be able to submit the questions anytime. We'll be monitoring that. And then afterwards, we'll be selecting some questions to be able to make sure the candidates get their perspectives from that. And then following that, they'll get to have a final statement. And thanks to their busy schedule, they were able to adjust this at last minute to add. So we are going to let them go after this. And then we're going to have a quick conversation as a community about what's on the ballot. So that way, when you're walking into the polls tomorrow, you know exactly what's on there. And in addition to that, what are the propositions that are available? So that is there. So candidates, are we ready to go?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. And we are joined here today by two folks who are running for the Board of Education Trustees. These are for 3-year terms from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. And we are here today by Kenneth Ware and Pastor Regina L. Williams. Thank you both again for your time. So we're going to get right started with your opening statements and really talking about why you're running for this position, and what do you intend and what's your vision. And so we're going to start off with Mr. Kenneth Ware.
Thank you, Jacob. Hello to everyone. My name is Kenneth Ware, Roosevelt alumni. I own a restaurant in Freeport on the nautical miles called Backyard Barbecue. I've been in the cooking industry for about 15 years now. Johnson & Wells grad in Providence, Rhode Island. I spent a lot of time in Manhattan working in a few restaurants there, studied abroad for a little bit, and came back home to Long Island to open up during the pandemic opening up a restaurant here on the Nautical Mile called Backyard Barbecue, which I mentioned before. That is what I do. I also have been helping out in the community for years, community advocate. I sit on the board for a nonprofit as well. Its name is So Rich in Community. I'm also the president of a Black Restaurant Coalition, which covers the 5 boroughs and Long Island. So any Black and minority-owned restaurant, we advocate and educate for Black and Brown minority business owners. And the reason why I wanted to be on this school board is just because I want to help elevate and bring Roosevelt Union Free School District to the next level. It is my alma mater. So I think that's the no other choice. So this is more like a homecoming for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to pass it over to the pastor to be able to have her a few minutes. Your time will start now, and you can go right ahead.
Good evening. Thank you to the Freeport Roosevelt NAACP President Donna Raphael, and to Jacob Dixon, who heads the education department of the NAACP, and to all of the committee members there, this opportunity that I have to be able to share my heart with my community. I've had the privilege of working as a trustee with the Roosevelt Union Free School District for the past year. Prior to that time, it was a decision that I had to make, a very earnest decision because it required giving of myself. There's a lot of hats that I do wear on a regular basis, but I thought it was necessary for me to throw my hat in for this particular position. One of the reasons is because of the fact that over the span of 30 plus years, I've lived in the town of Roosevelt, and I've had the opportunity of working in the community food pantry, clothing center, things that I've started some years ago in Roosevelt. And then my own background, I've worked with the federal government for 20 years. I worked with the county government for the past 6 years. I've done a lot of things, and I've had the experience in handling life in so many different ways. And my heart's desire is to share, with the scholars that are in the Roosevelt Union Free School District, and assisting them in making sure that they have the firm foundation to be successful, in our society. So my reasoning was a personal one, something that I wanted to give back for all the things and areas. I've been blessed beyond measure, married for 40 years. I have 2 sons. My oldest is 35 and my youngest is 32. So I've been around the block a little bit. And I just wanted to make sure and ensure that our young people have the best. I worked as the SEPTA president, which is the special education PTA president, for a number of years during the time period when my youngest son was undergoing different challenges, and he was part of the Department of Pupil Personnel Services, having been born with special challenges. So I had to navigate processes throughout the Roosevelt Union Free School District, and I had a strong community that supported me and allowed me to be able to give my son the best that he can get. And so this is my way of saying, there's something else that I can do to help someone else along. And so over the past year, I've had the privilege of working along with the Roosevelt Union Free School District. As soon as I came on board, I was filling a spot of Susan Gooding, who was the prior trustee, and she'd done a phenomenal job. And she relocated along with her family. So there was 1 year left, and I ran for the position, and my community elected me. So I wanted to put my best foot forward. So right away, I was part of the process of hiring our new superintendent. The prior superintendent retired on June 30th. And so our new superintendent, Superintendent Sean K. Whiteman, started on July 1st of 2024. So I had the privilege of coming in around the time when he started and being able to assist and ensuring that the new leadership that the district has, it has everything that he needs to be able to follow out the strategic plan that he shared with us during this past year, being a part of all of the different graduations and different things, it afforded me an opportunity to see the district in fullness. And so now I feel like this is a part of my journey. So I'm putting my hat back in the race again. And I would that you would re-elect me for another 3-year term. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for your opening statement, as well as Mr. Kenneth, in terms of that. And this is fantastic intro, actually, towards our first question, which is really around visioning and themes around innovation. And so what we want to start off with is you going right out the bat. So, Pastor, why don't we start off with you and say, look, given what your leadership role is going to be on the board of trustees, what are 1 or 2 innovative ideas that you would want to propose to take students to greater heights? Because I know you say you want to put your best foot forward. So why don't you start off with giving us some of those ideas? We'll start with a 2-minute time for that as well.
So one of the things that I would like to share, and I think I may have mentioned it during my first journey and coming in as trustee, and that is to ensure that our students have learn about financial base, being able to know the sustainability that's necessary when it comes to their finances, bringing in financial gurus, teaching literacy in an area of finance so that they would understand exactly what's necessary. This society can engulf you in so many different ways, but there's a knack and there's a particular way in which you can handle your finances, and that is bringing in nonprofit organizations to teach our young people, and also mentorship. Our colleges and our universities always assign a mentor, to the new scholars. And so being able to bring on more mentors, our administrators and our teachers, they're doing the best that they could. We have a phenomenal group that works with our young people, but being able to introduce the mentorship aspect so that our children not only have their parents to go to, but they have someone who may have experience in particular areas that they want to go into that will assist them in reaching their goals.
Thank you so much, Pastor Williams, for that. Kenneth, same question to you about 1 or 2 innovative ideas that you would propose to take students to greater heights. So we'll start off with you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so honestly, I think I'm gonna have a little different approach. Like Pastor Regina Williams said, the Roosevelt School District and the Board of Education has been doing a phenomenal job. I don't think there's a few innovative things that I would like to do, but I would like to take the approach as adding on to what's already being done in Roosevelt School District. There's so many phenomenal programs, such as the culinary arts ones. I was at the groundbreaking one with the construction program that the former Assembly member Taylor Darling was helped bring to the school district. So I think that finding ways to strengthen these programs and making sure that there's cohesiveness and just elevating. So that's going to be my approach with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kenneth, for that. And switching over to the conversation, Kenneth, we're going to start with you in terms of public accountability, right? So this is a tough job, as you both have recognized and said from the beginning of it. And we know at times part of that public accountability is connecting with your voters. And so one of the questions that we do ask is, how do you handle decisions that are unpopular, but with the public, but it's educationally necessary? And so how do you navigate that space? So I'll start with you.
Well, I have a running joke with myself. I don't have a PhD, but I have a PhD with unpopular decision making. Like I said, I am the president of the Black Restaurant Coalition, so I advocate, as well as I am an entrepreneur myself. So there are a lot of decisions day to day that I have to make that are very unpopular with staff, customer base, just the overall population. But I have to do what's best for the overall goal and overall achievement. So I think that as long as we are staying true to the mission and the vision, that nothing else really, and things matter, but as long as we are staying aligned with that, um, what's best for the community and the kids in the school district.
Absolutely. So, Kenneth, I'm going to push you just one little bit on that, right? So, we hear often about that, and you come where a community resident may say, we heard this vote recently, and we're not happy with it. But legally, you're not allowed to disclose information in regards to that. How would you handle that situation? And how would you handle that community member?
Well, I would just have to explain to the community member that that is privy information and that, I would have to stand firm on that, because it is a legal thing. So we can't disclose that information. But, you will come off, I think a lot of the things, what I preach in my, I am 36 years old, so I'm gonna say my short term in life. Long you have to come off the right way and just stand firm, but still be communicative with the person and be able to speak and get your words out and just connect. So I think that's the approach that I'll be able to, being a millennial, being able to connect and still be firm at the same time.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, for taking that. Pastor, I'm going to pass the question back over to you, and it was around public accountability of handling decisions that are unpopular with the public, but educationally necessary.
Sure. Um, I've already had to deal with that in my first year. We were at an event and someone asked a question in which I could not answer specifically because of the confidentiality, that I was sworn to. But what I did was I ensured to the entire audience that there was a reason why you elected me. You elected me so that I would bring my experience, my knowledge. I would do whatever research was necessary prior to making whatever decision. And I asked them to trust me. The same way you trusted me in voting me in, trust me to make the proper decision on behalf of our students. It's a difficult area. I'm not going to say that it's easy, because there's times when you want to explain and you can't explain. Um, the collaboration and explanations when it can be given, we can do that. But sometimes it's necessary to just remind, the community that we're held to a higher standard. And that's what I live by. Integrity is everything for me, and once people realize and see that you're an integral person, they will trust you a little more. And prayerfully as a group, because I'm not making the decision by myself, but as a board of trustees, that is our focus, and that is to make the best decision necessary for our students.
Thank you so much, Pastor, in terms of speaking on that. I think the next step actually is sort of related to it is dealing with school culture and particularly understanding that the strength of our schools is not just our children, but our teachers, and the importance of that. And so we're going to go into labor and staffing. I think that's a key piece that's important. And so it's a two-part question. So we're going to start off with you, Pastor, in order to get that in and looking at what are your standards and expectations when it comes to hiring effective school personnel, particularly within teachers and administrators? And how would you work with your superintendent of schools to ensure that the recruitment and retention efforts align with student needs? So I know it's a large question, but really just what are your standards and expectations when it comes down to hiring personnel? And then what would you do to support your superintendent in ensuring that those recruitment efforts align with student needs?
Sure. When it comes to, and it's a background that I've delved into, long my professional journey. When it comes to hiring, it's one of the most strategic areas because you not only want to look at the educational value that the individual is bringing, but you also want to ensure that they have a level of experience, and not just experience only when it comes to education, but when it comes to the Roosevelt Union Free School District, is looking at the type of students that we have. We have a strong population of Black and Brown young people, and so it's necessary to bring in someone that knows knows how to reach them, knows how to instruct them, has passion for this particular community. And it's not just on one area, but it's being able to ask certain pertinent questions and to see exactly what their mindset is when it comes to dealing with our children, dealing with our scholars. The second part of that question, it talks about what do we do in working along. So again, over the past year, having the affording the opportunity of working with a new superintendent. One thing about Roosevelt Union Free School District, we're very big on professional development training. It is an ongoing process. There's never enough training that you can get when it comes to your area of expertise. And a lot of times when we don't have continuous training, sometimes the style of things change and we're still trying to handle things in an old way and we need freshness. That's what training brings. Training brings a fresh perspective, a relatable perspective, something that's new, that's fresh, and that can reach our young people. So it's ensuring that the staff that we have, has those tools in place, and not only that they go through the training, but that they are applying it, that just application to the things that they have learned.
Thank you so much, Pastor. We appreciate that. And we're going to pass over the same question to you. Standards and expectations when it comes down to hiring effective personnel, and then your approach or ways in supporting the school superintendent to make sure that those recruitment efforts align with student needs.
Thank you. I think definitely, like Pastor spoke about, it's about being up to date and current and knowing, like again, like for myself, I'm the first time trustee. So for me, it's going to be a lot of training and just holding myself to my standards, and correlate to my business, and entrepreneurship and staff development. And then as well, I am a part of a fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So we work a lot on reclamation and retention. And I think the key part about that is just being able to connect with the staff, keeping the staff engaged. Because after a while, you get in the thick of things and you're doing the same thing every day. So I think that it's important to have different trainings, different modules, different seminars, webinars, all of the things to keep the staff engaged and keep the brain working. Again, I'm really big on staying aligned with the goals, the mission, and the vision. So as long as everything is cohesively working together and we're keeping not only the students engaged, but we have to start at the beginning and keeping the superintendent engaged so it just trickles down and stay along with the mission and the vision.
Thank you, Kenneth. And actually, we're going to pose with you with the next question that we have. And so everything that you've spoken about along with the pastor is key, but that could happen with an effective budget, right?
Yes.
So that's really important, right? So you both did have an opportunity to see the 25-26 school budget with that. So we would love to know what's your position on that, Kenneth. What did you see? What's something that you thought was a good part of it, and what you think was something that you feel should be included that you may work on? So why don't you take 2 minutes to respond to that in your position?
Thank you. I actually did sit in on the last school board meeting where they went over the budget, and I was very impressed with the budget, and I'm for the budget. Not only did the school board stay within the budget, they actually lowered on some certain areas. And I think what that happens, I relay a lot back to my restaurant and entrepreneurship, because we all knows what happened when you come in under budget, you strengthen other things. So I feel like I just spoke before on like the retention part and keeping people up to date, that we can strengthen these programs that's currently at the school and intensify them a little bit more, because we are staying underneath the budget. So, we want to make sure everybody, including the staff as well, because it's, some of these jobs are very demanding, and not as good as pay as you would always want, but as long as you're staying within the budget, underneath the budget, you can strengthen everything. So again, it's like a trickle effect. You stay within the budget, you strengthen in more programs. Some teachers get 10 years, some get raises, and then so I'm with the budget all the way.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, on that. Pastor Williams, I'm going to pass it over to you with the same question.
Sure. I'm piggybacking on what Mr. Ware was saying. I had the privilege of working along with Charlena Crouch, Trustee Crouch. She's our second vice president, and she chairs the audit committee. So I had the privilege of working along and learning as a co-chair of the audit committee. Being in that role, it afforded me an opportunity of actually meeting with our uh, counselors, our consultants, our audit company that works along with our school district as they dissected each area. And again, being 1 year in, it gave me an open eye view as to all of the aspects that go into preparation of the budget. And so I was able to see how tight and how firm the Roosevelt School District budget is, and not only just addressing issues. We were not like other districts where we had to close down, possibly close down a school or lay off staff, but we were able to have the same functionality. And because we offered so much to our students and we function under budget on a regular basis, it didn't put us in any area where we would fall short. And so I'm grateful that I wholeheartedly support the budget. And I know that, together, as we pass this budget, we'll be able to offer the best to our students for another term.
Thank you so much, Pastor. And I think what you spoke on is the importance of continuity and sustainability. And I think as part of that, that also requires leadership. And so, with your recent connection being part of the hiring process with the new superintendent, the question that we're going to be speaking on is about leadership and governance. And so, what will you do in your role as a board of trustees to ensure that the superintendent develops systems that are effective for the district, for the community, and for students? So I'll just speak 2 minutes to that.
Sure. And this is an easy one for me because, again, as I started, with the hiring of our new superintendent, he came in with a 90-day plan that was very, very effective. And so he's very goal-oriented and ensuring that there's strategies in place, not just strategies, but that these strategies are attainable, and they're coming into fruition. So it's constant meetings, being able to meet in our executive sessions to discuss, not wait until something transpires, but when you see something going left, being able to address it right away and have a cohesiveness. It always works well when the board and the superintendent, can come together for the greater good, not having constant if we're gonna fight with reason, but we're gonna come out together. And so we've been blessed to be able to function effectively with our new superintendent, being able to have regular evaluations, of the work that he's doing as well. He works cohesively along with the board, but just making sure that the things that we say are going to be in place, that they're actually happening. It's a very large undertaking. It's not an easy job. So all of us have to have our, set of lenses looking in different areas, bringing things to the forefront that may not be popular, but at the same time necessary to address to ensure that our students are getting the best.
Thank you so much, Pastor. And so, Kenneth, as you know, if you're elected, you will be new to this role. But given that unique perspective, what would you do if elected to support and ensure that your superintendent develops systems that affect positively the district community and students?
Thank you, thank you. Honestly, like you said, as being a first year, if I'm elected board member, I think the most important thing for myself is just to thoroughly immerse myself with the current systems and procedures that are in place and really understanding it overall and diving deep into it. And then, like Pastor Regina said, it's just working cohesive and added on to the team, and looking at it from a different lens. I think, group cooperation is the best thing. And as long as everybody's forward and towards the same mission and goal, everything comes together. So I really think that's my approach on that, and just making sure that myself personally, has a relationship and just really understanding the roles, the rules, the regulations, everything from the beginning to the end, and so and the stuff in the middle that gets dropped in there too as well. So I think, as long as everything is working cohesive and myself understands the different understands the different things, it will all work together.
Thank you so much on that. And Kevin, we're going to start with you for the next question, and we're going to shift it a little bit towards restorative justice. One of the questions that we received from the community is really talking about the importance of this issue around school to prison pipeline, and how it has disproportionately impact communities of color. The NAACP takes a strong stance with that and making sure that our students are treated with respect, but also at the same time looking at policies and practices to ensure that there is effective use of discipline measures to ensure that not only safety for students, but also looking at students as humans in that process. And so I share all that context to really dive deep into a question that Kenneth, I'm going to start with you on, is that what is your commitment to policies that reduce suspensions and support restorative practices?
I think my commitment to that is a strong one, given the community that we are in, and really understanding the community. I'm a third generation, maybe, yeah, 3 generations deep in Roosevelt community. So I really understand the dynamics of the 1 square mile of Roosevelt, and knowing what the community populates, and just really understanding, because we're all human. Right is right and wrong is wrong, but at the same time, I reflect on back to my time spent in the community and in the school district specifically, and just understanding, certain situations. So I have a strong stance against that. I think that as long as we have different activities, which there's a plethora of that for kids in the community, and we keeping them engaged, that we don't have to go that way. We can reduce suspension. We don't have to think about the first thing as, let's suspend. Let's think of other alternative ways to kind of, facilitate and mentor the youth. I'm big on mentorship. Like I said, I am a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and we strongly, talk about mentorship, not as well as I sit on the board for a nonprofit where we mentor underprivileged kids that have behavioral issues. So I think taking a different approach at that, I have a very strong stance on that.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. In order to do that, Pastor, we're going to pass it over to you for the same question around your commitment to policies to reduce suspensions and bringing in restorative practices in Roseville School District.
Sure. I'm very committed. I like the response that Kenneth was saying, as far as, being able to reach our students. A lot of times when students act out, I'll use that terminology. Sometimes there's things going on in the home. So it's building tighter relationships, making sure we have more parental involvement. We have a new PTA president for the district, and so it's ensuring that she has what she needs to be able to increase that parental involvement, and to ensure that whatever's going on with our students, sometimes it's food insecurity. And so thank God that we are able to offer, meals to all of our students. And sometimes it's just homelessness, and it's things that the average child will not be able to handle on their own. But that's, as a community, as Mr. Ware was saying, I love the family atmosphere that Roosevelt has, so then there's no need for us to have to go outside the box, so to speak. We have what we need right amongst us, and it's being able to ensure reaching that child. Um, what is it that caused them to act out, or are we fully sustaining them by giving them what they need? And as he stated, we have a lot to offer, all of our students in any area of life that they may want to go into, and being able to pull on, those leaders that we have within our community to support, our administrators and our teachers, our school system at large, to ensure that our students don't feel neglected, don't feel like they're by themselves, and have the right guidance, people that will listen and pay attention to what they are saying and take it to heart and reach them where they're at so that we can pull them up so that they can be the great citizens that we know they can be.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Actually, you just segued into the next question, and we're gonna have you start off with it because you did that in order to get that through. And that's actually talking about community engagement. I think it's a key piece that you just brought up, and I think it's an important piece because sometimes there could be a perception that some people don't want to partner with others, and that's not necessarily the position sometimes of theirs. So I think it's important as a board of trustees, education for the trustee position, that it's important that we need to center partnerships. So how would you partner with families, organizations, and local businesses? And it would be great if you can give a tangible example of that within your time or your experience with it.
Sure. So with one of the hats, the many hats that I wear, and on the religious side with my church is being able to partner with other church leaders and being able to bring together like-mindedness when it comes to making sure that we are reaching the heart of our children. We already have the school district works very cohesive with the Roosevelt Library. I know the concerned citizens of Roosevelt that they meet. And when it comes to, and I'm gonna touch bases on Mr. Ware's area, Chamber of Commerce. The Roosevelt Chamber of Commerce works very cohesive with our school district. And so being able to bring more. I know the district already, ensures and builds the children when it comes to entrepreneurship, multiple streams of income, but also allowing our businesses to be a part of the process. When it comes to summer employment, being able to engage our young people through the businesses, with summer employment and having those relationships ahead of time so that by the time our students, are completing a school year, if they're able to work, then they're able to work right in their own community. And it is almost like a reciprocal area where they're able to build their community and learn at the same time and help build the business end of Roosevelt back to where it was quite some time ago. And I can see it happening. When we all come together and work together, having our young people more engaged because sometimes they need to see. And once they're out there and they are able to see, then it will enlighten them on some of the areas that in life that they can go into so that their inborn gifts can be utilized for their own finances as well.
Thank you so much, Pastor Kenneth. We're going to ask you the same question, and I know you got a personal connection with this, so I would love to hear specific examples, as well as your commitment and understanding why and how we should partner with families, organizations, and businesses.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely think this is very important. Again, like I said, I'm president of Black Restaurant Coalition, and what we speak about in our coalition is reaching out to the community and letting and working cohesively with the community by different give backs and partnerships. Every year in my restaurant, we have a day for Christmas time when we give back toys. 2 years ago, we gave over $10,000. I think it was the biggest toy drive to date at the Long Island Children's Museum, and just engaging with the community and letting people know like we are ready to work together as a team. Like Pastor Regina Williams said, in that 1 square mile, everyone knows everyone. everybody, knows somebody's dad or somebody's aunt. I think my stance is just come in and be in the millennial field and kind of bridging that gap, and letting people know in the community, we are closest to the upcoming students now, and we need to get our community engagement back up. And I come from a long line of family that has those barbecues or 4th of July, and everybody comes over and get a nice plate, or you go down the block and you go to so and so's house and come over for dinner. So I think it's just getting Roosevelt, the community, back to where it once was and where it should stay at.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, in order to present that as well. So um, we're actually almost done. We got 2 more questions left. Is on to that. So community members, as you are listening, if you have any questions and answers, please feel free to submit them at any time before they close out on us. So that way we're able to get that through. But one question, we're going to take a step back for a second because it was important when we were talking about restorative justice that we're also talking about student rights as part of that process. And I believe the both of you are familiar with DASA, the Dignity for All Students Act, and what it represents. And so I think the real question that we need to have is, as a board, how would you support enforcement? And most of all, making sure that students, particularly with high levels of incidences, whether it's bullying or other issues, that they feel safe within their schools. They feel safe when they're able to walk into their classrooms. They feel safe with their teachers and having conversations of learning and growth. So how would you support overall safety within the program as well as the enforcement of DASA? So I'll start off with you, Kenneth, and then we'll pass it over to the pastor after.
Thank you. I think that is a very important thing, especially in the Roosevelt community. I think that as long as they are things things that are supporting factors of the overall, um, I'm sorry, as long as there's overall support on it, on the specific topic, I think that, like I mentioned before, we know the difference between right and wrong. And as a board member, we have to make sure that the whole child is protected in every which way, shape, and form. So some instances it might not be, accepted at all. That's one of those things. As long as we staying true to the different systems and policies that are in place and staying aligned with it.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. And we're going to pass it over to you, Pastor, as well, to talk about DASA, but also overall safety within the schools to ensure that children are able to participate in learning.
Sure. It's ensuring that our educators, our administrators, our teachers, are paying attention to what's going on with our children within the classroom, in the gym, on the field, ensuring that there's a open dialogue, a safety area where they feel comfortable speaking and talking about whatever it is that they're going through. Um, we have a data-driven program already where we pay attention to certain things to ensure that our children feel safe. Talk to them. A lot of times adults make decisions for children that we don't take into account as to what they're dealing with and actually hearing from them. One of the newest areas that has been approved is having a student board member, having that particular young person on the board to speak the heart of the young people, and so this way we're always fresh in our ideas and fresh in decision making, and that we know what's going on. We have a regular dialogue with our superintendent on a day-to-day basis where he informs of any and all incidents that happen within our school. So this way, when we see patterns, then we know we can address certain things and may have to tweak certain things to ensure that our children, they have to feel safe. And safety has a lot to do with trust. And trust comes from having adults in their life that they can see and know that they matter to them and pay attention to what's going on.
Thank you so much, Pastor, in order to do this. So we're going to end this conversation on a positive note in terms of highlighting the best of our districts. We did this question in Freeport. We're going to do the same thing here in Roseville before we take the community question. And that really is centered around excellence. So what is one thing, I have to name one. I know you could probably name a lot, but name one thing that the district made you proud that you wanted to applaud and say, yes, job well done. What's one thing that it's important to highlight that you've seen at your time that you're like, you know what, this is Roosevelt putting on the map. This is Roosevelt showing who we are as a community. And I think that's important. So why don't we start off with you, Pastor, and then we'll take it to Ken at the end.
Sure. The one thing, Roosevelt is the first district to bring in Black history and Latino history 365. So every grade level is learning their history. It's something that was had already started. The process had started prior to becoming on board. And we received the National Magna Award, for bringing that, to our district. It elevates the pride of our students. So they know where they've come from and they feel good about who they are, which builds self-esteem from the inside with our children. So that's the one thing I'm grateful. I'm so happy. I like telling it. I like sharing the information with others as to what we're doing for, our students here in Roosevelt.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pastor, on that. Kenneth, take it away with an issue or a thing that you saw or an observation that made you applaud and said, that's Roosevelt.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, there's so many things that the school board has done at the first things, and I had the privilege to be there at the ribbon cutting. And please correct me if I say this wrong, Pastor. That Roosevelt School District was the first school district in New York State to have the construction program brought to the school district. So I was actually there for the ribbon cutting on that, and I really sat back and said this is excellence. This is what Roosevelt needs. This is what Roosevelt is. This is the vision. This is the mission. This is everything that we pride ourselves in this 1 square mile. So just being, like I said, a Roosevelt alum and to be there at the ribbon cutting for Roosevelt School District, to be the first school district in New York State to bring that program to Roosevelt amongst a lot of other firsts that the board has brought to the school district. I think that was the moment. That was the Rough Rider moment. We're going to call it the Rough Rider moment. That was the Rough Rider moment.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you both so much. Again, first and foremost, thank you both for your time today to be able to connect your thoughts and vision around this. We do have some questions coming in from the community, so I want to make sure that we get that in. One of the key questions, we talked a little bit about this earlier in terms of your standards of excellence when it comes down to expectations of hiring effective practices. But this question really talks about what steps or practical steps are the school district doing currently to attract and retain high quality and certified teachers? And if you're even new with this as well, what steps do you think the district should be taking to ensure that they attract and retain high quality teachers? So why don't we start off with you, Pastor, with that question?
Sure. So one of the things we tend to feel like money is everything, and sometimes you're not always able to offer an increase in pay, but being able to have an individual to feel like they matter and that what they can contribute, making them feel good about being a part of the process. One of the things that I like about Roosevelt Union Free School District, our RTA works very, very effective. They work very cohesive. And so when there are issues that our teachers, administrators have, even when it comes to their contractual agreements, they are brought to our attention and we address it as much as possible. We address it. We can't always give them what they want, but we give them what they need to ensure that we keep them. It's a hard position to be in because of the fact that a lot of times the dollar speaks for itself. So people leave because of that. What I like about Roosevelt is there's times when they leave and they come back. and they come back because they realize what we have here is different than any other area of life. That family atmosphere, we're proud when we, see our young people graduate from our high school. We've watched them go from whether it's Ulysses Bias or Centennial, Washington Roves, all the way up the chain. And it makes us feel good that we had a hand, in the upbringing of our young people.
Thank you so much, Pastor Kenneth. We're going to pass it over to you because even though you may be new in terms of that, what are your thoughts in terms or approaches for districts to be able to attract and retain high quality teachers?
Thank you. Yes, like I appreciate you for understanding that this is all new for me. But I think one of my thoughts, like I mentioned before, is just keeping the quality teachers engaged. I'm big on engagement, and I think there should definitely be plans and policies on engagement, and that's how we funnel it for retention and getting the best for our scholars. Being a Roosevelt alum, I know what I loved about my favorite teacher, what I didn't like about certain teachers, but I also know that the Roosevelt School District, the teachers there, they care about the child inside and outside of the classroom. And I think that comes with training and the development of the educator. Just even going through college, like Pastor said, there's no place like Roosevelt. That's why we're 1 square mile. So I think just keeping them engaged and keeping them forward thinking.
Thank you so much for that. So we have two more quick community questions, and then we are done with this portion of the forum. So one of them is actually a specific question. So I think I'm going to pass it for you, Pastor Williams, in terms of that, because with the 365 history that you just spoke about recently, is there a commitment from the districts to make sure that with that type of curriculum that it needs additional exposure or opportunities? Are we hiring new teachers in order to do that? Or is this more centering around professional development where we're focusing on the teachers understanding about history and then translating it? So we wanted to know, some community members may not be familiar. So I think it's important that if you could share that, that would be great.
Sure, it is it's a particular curriculum. I believe the headquarters is based in Texas, that we purchased and brought to the district that's being taught to every grade level. Um, we're in our incubator stage, and so data is being taken from each class and how the students are. So come next year, we'll have something to compare it to, but it's brand new, so we don't have any data with it yet. But our young people love the fact that they're learning more about themselves and their, a specific background. So like I said, it's a curriculum that we purchased. It might have been something that was available to other districts, but we thought it necessary for our students to begin this area of learning, and it's been extremely effective for our scholars.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And so we're going to end with this final question. And this is really a vision question that I think is key. And I think this would be a great way to end. We were going to give you 3 minutes to do this, but I think if you tied this in as part of your 3-minute closeout, I think it would be fantastic. Imagine our district 10 years from now. What are three, well, for purposes of time, we're gonna say one, and that person can yell at me later. I'm sorry, but we're gonna make sure the interest of time to get through. If you can get to three, that would be great. But if let's do one, significant change you hope to see, and what steps would it take to achieve them? So imagine 10 years from now, what is that most significant change that you would see, and what are the steps that you think will take to achieve them? And if you could factor that into your closeout of your closing statement, that would be fantastic, especially given the evolving landscape of technology and societal shifts and things that are happening worldwide. Where do we see our district 10 years from now? What's the most significant change that you think you will notice and the steps that it'll take there? Because you'll all have a part of that if you get elected. So that would be key. Anyone would like to go first?
I'll go first.
I'm trying to figure out who's going to get there.
A significant change that I would like to see within 10 years is the entire Nassau Road fully engulfed and embraced with businesses, bringing back our banking institution, um, so that our young people see the flourishing of Roosevelt right before them. We don't have to go into another community to see certain things when it comes to our business end, but being able to see it right before their eyes and be a part of the process. It would be wonderful if our scholars, were able to go to school and they come back. And so, and we have our doctors, our doctors' offices on Nassau Road, our banking institutions, like I said, on Nassau Road, and our lawyers on Nassau Road, right in their own community, being able to bring back their skill set and their knowledge and pour back into their community. As I tie it into my closing statement, I want to say I'm grateful for this opportunity and this time, in sharing, thank you to the Freeport Roosevelt NAACP again. And I'm glad to be here with Mr. Kenneth Ware. We're not running against one another. We're running with one another. So that makes it really good. So, and I'm grateful that we do have, him. He mentioned being a millennial. We need him. We need him on our board. We want to bring in different perspectives. And again, we talked before about freshness, bring something fresh to the table. Stale water stinks. So we always want to keep it fresh and flowing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity, if elected again, to work with young people. There's something about youth. Youth brings invigoration. Youth consistently has things constantly going. We laugh, we enjoy, and seeing, being able to take that as you do a plant, when you planting the seed in the ground and watch it flourish and watch it grow. That's what I love about our community in Roosevelt. We have that opportunity of taking our children and pouring into them all of the things that we've gotten so they can take it to the next level. Thank you so much for your time on tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Pastor. In order to do that, Kenneth, we're going to leave it with you to close this out. So
I think I should have went first because going after going
you can
after
handle
like
yourself.
that.
You did just fine here. Don't
It's
even
like
try it.
as she was going, as Pastor was going along, I'm like, all right, how am I going to end this out with that? But
We together, we together, Kim.
yes, exactly. No pressure, right? But no, thank you. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to the entire NAACP and Pastor Williams as well. I appreciate the kind words and thank you for your time. I know our schedules weren't aligned as well, but I was like, this is something important because I do want the community to understand the stance that I'm taking. And it's not to come in and change anything, but it's to add on. And with that being said, within the next 10 years, what I would like to see in the community and, and Roosevelt School District is us to continue to add on to the success that we are currently going towards, continue to put one foot in front of the other and continue to grow and be the shining stars that we are, knowing from where the school district has came from all the talks and the things, and to do a complete and being there around that time and knowing the feeling when you meet other people outside and you tell them that you're from Roosevelt, and now we can definitely compete with all other school districts, if not better than or toe to toe. I believe it's better than a lot of school districts in hearing, but that's not the point. I think the point is, like I was saying, is just being able to grow and elevate and come back to the communities, and show the young kids. At the last board meeting, there was a young gentleman, I think he's a senior, and he said that he was going to veterinary school. And then one of my colleagues that I actually graduated with just graduated from veterinary school. So, being able to reach back into those resources and show the youth that somebody from your hometown is doing this already. Somebody from your hometown is a lawyer, is a doctor, is the first minority in 20 years to win a government contract in Nassau County, and just adding on it and, pushing forward towards excellence. Thank you everyone for your time, and I very appreciate it.
Mr. Ware, Pastor Williams, thank you both for your commitment to public service via education, for your leadership, your voice in today's forum, and most of all, giving the Roosevelt community another opportunity before that vote tomorrow to just hear more of where you land and why children matter first. And so on the behalf of the people of Freeport, Roosevelt, NAACP, we thank you both for your time, your grace in extending this, especially last minute, to be able to pull this together, to give us another platform and space with there. We wish you both a great night. And again, thank you both for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
All right. And so folks out there, thank you so much for being able to join us. Before you log off, we do have a quick update to be able to provide specifically around what's on the ballot. So we'll make sure that we're going to share that over with you right now. So give me one quick second. We're going to get this into screen and momentarily. Can everyone see the screen? For those who are on my side, can you just put a thumbs up if you can? Awesome. Okay. I appreciate it. So here's your sample ballot. That's what's going to be there on right tomorrow in terms of doing that. So for instance, on the left-hand side of the ballot that was provided by the district clerk, you see on one hand the first candidate, and you have on the second hand the second candidate. If there's a write-in candidate, it is on the bottom. There are specific requirements to write that name. Please make sure it's clear and legible, or else the vote does not count. That is key. On the right-hand side is the proposition that is related to the school board budget. That is there. Please make sure that you read that carefully. We will also be sharing right after this access to the recent budget presentation, voting locations. The Roosevelt School District has an excellent poll finder map that is available on the website. Type in your address and it'll tell you which way you go, which of the buildings to be a part of. And in addition to that, just a simple reminder, tomorrow is the day, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. That is available. If you are getting an absentee ballot, you're supposed to have them in already. So please make sure that you follow up on it. If not, you gotta go in to vote in order to make that happen. But again, we just wanted to make sure that we share all that information with you all. And most of all, to once again be able to say on the behalf of the Freeport Roosevelt NAACP, we hope that this forum, this platform gave you an opportunity to hear different perspectives, different thought processes, different forms of leadership, but all coming together and united for Roosevelt students. And most of all, being able to address educational issues that are like-minded to our chapter. And so until we see you soon, take care, be safe, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great